Hello, everybody. Welcome to Green Biz Studio. I'm Joel McCower, here talking to Audrey Choi, the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer at Morgan Stanley. Audrey, welcome back to Circularity.
Hey, Joel. Thanks so much. Great to be back.
So I think any conversation about circularity in Morgan Stanley has to start with the plastic waste resolution that Morgan Stanley initiated earlier this year. Talk a little bit about that and why Morgan Stanley is interested in plastic waste.
Well, so as you said, we made the plastic waste resolution actually in April of 2019, so last year. And, we did it because, Morgan Stanley has been focusing on sustainable investing, as you know, for 11 years. So kind of before it was really even a thing, when sustainable investing was still very much a thing that we were often introducing into our client conversations and frankly into conversations with our colleagues. We've been working on this a long time. We've been so thrilled to see the incredible momentum that has just been accelerating with every passing year, and especially these last 2 years, where really it seems to have finally become what we had always been hoping for, more than a decade ago, that it's really become table stakes. And that increasingly people are seeing that sustainability is material, that sustainability is part of high quality investing, and that really there's only more insight that can be gained if you think about environmental and social and governance issues alongside your investment decisions. So as we were sort of looking at the market and seeing this development, we thought this is really terrific, and we really want to do even more. We want to think about how can we push a little farther? How can we take on a particular issue where we think that it might actually really benefit from our being involved in a more strategic way? And there were certainly any number of issues we could have chosen, but as we started thinking about things, we thought, that we kept on coming back to the issue of plastic waste. And we kept on coming back to the issue of plastic waste for a number of reasons. One is obviously just on a global and an environmental scale, it's obviously a staggering issue, right? With more than 8 billion tons of waste that's been created, more than 6 billion tons of that is still with us in rivers, oceans, and landfills. But more than that it was also very much a business issue. Right? When we looked across the global client base that we have, everything from the largest chemical companies, industrial companies, consumer packaging companies, as well as individuals, as well as local and state and federal governments, we realized that actually gives you the entire plastic waste value chain, from creation, use, disposal, reuse or not, recycling or not. And that although we weren't ourselves kind of front lines in any one of those stages, we really touched all of it. And so we thought, this is a place where, as a financial institution, we could actually hopefully take a role in thinking about this at the systems level, right? So not, one bit of innovation or one single transaction, but how could we leverage all of our client connectivity and really say, how do we collectively think about plastic waste reduction as a systems problem?
So Audrey, how do you do that? What's the theory of change? What can Morgan Stanley actually do when it comes to plastics?
Look, our theory of change really is that it is a systems issue. And so we really can't just look at one point of intervention, but at many. So that's why when we announced the plastic waste resolution, we deliberately had a really broad set of interventions and partnerships. To give you just an example of a few of them, one is that we are partnering with Dr. Jenna Jambeck. She's probably the preeminent scientist on marine waste and specifically plastic pollution. And we're really trying to support her work and be constantly made smarter by her insights. And in particularly, we've been supporting her marine debris tracker, which is a tool whereby citizen scientists around the world can really help build that database so that scientists can have a better understanding of where is the plastics coming from, what type of items are they, where are they ending up, and what is happening with them. We also have a partnership with the University of Michigan, their sustainability systems program, to really understand, again, how does it integrate in terms of business processes, corporate decisions, and the overall sort of sustainability balance of issues. We then are, of course, working with our corporate clients and other clients around financial transactions. So right when we announced the plastic waste resolution in April of last year, we did a proof of concept with the World Bank that issued a bond. And again, it was small at the time, but a bond where the proceeds were specifically focused on marine pollution and especially plastic waste. And that bond went very well. A few months later, we were able to really leverage that and scale that up into doing $1 billion green bond with Pepsi, where a large chunk of that proceeds was devoted to reducing the virgin plastic in their beverage chain. And then in addition, we said, how do we translate these kinds of things into opportunities for investors, both small and large, to really be able to align their personal investments with the values that they care about, like plastic waste reduction. And we were very excited that with our colleagues in wealth management, we were able to design portfolios with the minimum investment as low as $10,000, where you could choose portfolios aligned to plastic waste reduction. We were really excited that within about 6 months, we crossed the $100 million mark of assets flowing into that strategy. And, it was much faster than a sort of a traditional strategy. And we were able to really see investors, again, at all different price points saying, I do want to, whether it's $10,000 or much more, I want to align my decisions, my investment decisions with plastic waste reduction. We've also really been working actively with, with all parts of our business to think about new ways. And then finally, as we've got a big focus and always have on really helping encourage innovation, and especially that next generation who we believe really are going to be the future leaders of finance. And this past year in our Sustainable Investing Challenge that we've done for the past 7 years with Kellogg, we had a specific extra track around plastic waste innovation ideas, plastic waste reduction innovation ideas. And we were incredibly excited to see students from around the world focusing on ways to think differently about recycling, about alternatives to plastic. And so really we're trying to span the waterfront, everything from innovation to client use to investment products and capital markets products.
Yeah, that's quite a waterfront there. But when you look at the entire tool belt, if you will, the toolkit of things that not only Morgan Stanley, but any large financial institution can do when it comes to addressing the plastic waste crisis, what's the one biggest tool that you have? What's the one thing that if all financial institutions were to really lean into, it could really make the biggest difference?
That's a great question. I think if I was going to say all financial institutions doing just one thing to try to start, putting some ripple effects, it would probably actually just be really, frankly, focusing on plastic waste reduction as an investment theme. And the reason that, I know that sounds very simple, but the reason that matters is that in my opinion, leads to a whole sort of, series of dominoes falling, right? If you say we're actually focusing on plastic waste reduction as an investment theme, that means that suddenly you're actually asking different questions. You're asking for different data from companies, whether you're a sell-side analyst or whether you're an asset manager. You're asking for different disclosures about what are your processes, what is the full life cycle of plastic, how are you thinking about alternative materials, how are you thinking about reuse, and really I think just what we've seen, whether it's from the investor or from the financial institution, once you start focusing on one of these issues and help the entire ecosystem understand why it's a business issue, why corporate decisions can actually matter, why investor decisions matter, it creates the demand for data, and data creates the transparency, the understanding of consequences, exactly of the circularity that you're talking about, and it really helps drive that whole series of changes, which I think ultimately is what we need for a systemic solution.
So much of everything we're talking about here involves starting with asking the right questions and really digging in and then pressing for those answers. Audrey Choi is Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer at Morgan Stanley. Audrey, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Joel. It's always great to be with you.